Hi everyone, this is Bobby from bn-games.com, and we're here doing another classic capture. We're doing a game that's been a long time coming. This is our first PC classic capture for Full Throttle for the PC and MS-DOS 3.5. PC, as far as PC is concerned, we're talking Windows 3.11 and Windows 95. I don't run on Windows 95.
Sound Blaster.
Where to start? This is going to be one of our longer classic captures because this is probably in the top 3 video games of all time, in my opinion, and second best PC game. The ironic part is both best PC games in my list are both LucasArts titles. This one being number 2 and part 1 being Jedi Academy, when LucasArts still made games and not Star Wars only simulators.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, this is probably one of the best and the funniest games that I've ever played, seen, heard of.
I should also note this is also Mark Hamill's best voice acting bit ever.
Oh, yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
Screw the Joker.
If you don't know who Mark Hamill is, Mark Hamill was Luke Skywalker. I'm having problems today. And he plays Ripburger, who is the guy guy to the right there.
This is like actually made me think that Luke should have actually been Vader.
He would have made a really good Vader based on his on all the villain parts he plays. So this game came out in 1994, about 1994. It came on a disc. One of the, it was a CD-based PC game initially. It was never ported to any kind of console or anything like that. Only PC. And me and Timmy originally played this on a Packard Bell Legendary Series 2500, which we upgraded with 12 megs of RAM. EDO RAM.
One quick note, this is like the best intro theme ever.
Oh, I'll get into that. It also had a Sound Blaster 16, an official Creative Sound Blaster 16, and it was an Intel 75 megahertz processor, and we had actually upgraded the hard drive to 1.5 gigs. That was the hard drive.
That's a pretty high-end toaster.
And it wasn't magnet. It was actually a touch-based drive, the old actual Surface writing. I can go on and on. It was definitely a game of the time, and I think it still holds up from an animation perspective, other than the video is a bit compressed. It still holds up, in art direction and just visually. I don't know, it's still visually appealing.
Well, you should also mention that a few years ago there was a sequel plan called Hell on Wheels, and that actually got canceled when the voice of the main character died.
Yeah. And based on the video from that, which you can find on YouTube, it would have been a sad remake, I think, or sequel, based on the way they were, what direction they're going to take it. This song right here is a song by the Gone Jackals. It's called Legacy. The entire game, most of the game's soundtrack is based off of the Gone Jackals album Bone to Pick, which you can find on iTunes for about $10. Highly recommended. You can also find it on Amazon Music, sir. I've never recommended a soundtrack to be bought for a game. This will be the first. And
will you actually just go out and buy a CD?
Yeah, I think they might have them for MP3 download. I'm not sure. They do the entire soundtrack, and a lot of the sound bites are actually based off songs from them. I would also say it's one of an early inspiration for my own guitar playing at some point. This is also was headed by Tim Schafer. If you don't know who Tim Schafer is, you should probably stop watching this now. Tim Schafer is responsible for Brutal Legend, Stacking, Psychonauts, which is a little more well-known, and also Grim Fandango, which came out after this.
Nightmare.
Yeah.
You're forgetting the movies.
Yeah. So, comes down to you play as Ben. He is an outlaw, headed the motorcycle gang, the Polecats, and fate kind of just drops in on him. Right here, I'm kind of doing an unedited video recording from the beginning to the point where I stop. Not going to get into a a lot of the story bits, and definitely recommend playing it through to see
If you can find a machine to run it.
Yeah, I should actually. What I should note in this particular playthrough, since the game is highly uncompatible with anything beyond Windows 95, it's hard to play this on anything that, natively on any new system or a new computer, just based on the fact that a lot of the files and assets or system assets it requires to use to run don't exist anymore, or they're renamed, or they're incompatible. So we're actually playing this on ScumVM. It's not an emulator. It is, I guess maybe on some level you could call it an emulator, but it technically just enables you to use the files of the original game on modern machines and modern devices. Because ScumVM is available for more platforms than I can count, legal and illegal to some extent. For example, this was a DOS 3.5 Windows 3.1 game, and I played this on Mac. You can play it on anything. There's a phone emulator for it, and there's some other emulators for shady hacks. Although the application on no level is illegal. There's nothing about it that there's no. They don't give you the game files. You actually have to have the original game files on the disk. For any of the games that run on ScumVM, such as this one, I still have the original disc that we got that came with Dark Forces, which is another LucasArts game. You can play these games through that on these devices. Only thing it changes is the executable, and it knows how to use certain runtimes to get the game to work on modern machines. And you can basically run this almost anything now, anything that has some kind of input device, because this was a point and click at one, initially on the computer. I'm skipping through a lot of the voice talking here. It is a character piece. Most of the time, you're talking to characters or solving puzzles. It's a puzzle game because it's a point-and-click adventure. So you get these full-fledged voice-acted moments, between the characters, and then you go into a puzzle sequence. Right now, Ripburger's talking about Malcolm Corley, and Ben's. This is really where the plot starts.
This lays out the plot.
Yeah, the whole thing.
I mean, it's not really it starts. This is the whole plot behind it.
So much character expression, even for the day. I mean, let's see, 1994. The game is what? Almost 20 years old?
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, and you see the same kind of 17. Yeah. And you see the same kind of art direction in Tim Schafer's later games. I mean, all of his games, even now, they're all character pieces. The gameplay is secondary to the characters and the story. And this game, I mean, this is the granddaddy of them all.
And this is like this is probably my only complaint, the way it shows that he drove off on the bike. It never explains how or why his bike is still there after.
That's true.
I mean, that's one of my only gripes. It's kind of like, okay, I mean, the player's not that stupid.
That's probably one of the only plot holes that you can see.
Yeah.
So after that long intro sequence, which is totally worth watching, you get your cursor and you start off in the trash can. I'm just showing here that you can click on different things, and when I say puzzle game, a lot of it is basically you find the direction the character is supposed to go in. You get this menu system when you click and hold on an item, which gives you the option to touch, kick, talk, or kiss. Well, that only happens once. And look, in this instance, I'm just showing the different options, like kicking it, which is one of my favorite things. There's just these little touches that you'd want to do, and you want to see the character perform that he usually will. So I'll go to these boxes, and I tell him, hey, why don't you look at the boxes?
And this shows that this game is like the king of the one-liners, because, I mean, there are just so many funny quotes in this. I just remember when we were kids, it's like we just walk around quoting this game left and right.
Yeah, there is no shortage of moments and one-liners, especially if you remember this game. Especially if you remember this game as a kid.
Yeah.
Marco wasn't there for him.
No, I wasn't. I was 2.
He was still shitting his pants.
Yeah, it's not a very long game if you know all the resolutions. It's one of those ones that it doesn't have branching paths. You basically, there's one solution for every situation.
Like Portal.
And then you get through it. So I like to play this once every couple of years. I can, if I skip all the stupid crap, you know, the lollygagging, you can probably finish this game within an hour, hour and a half if you know all the solutions to every puzzle. Right here, I go through all the pictures, which is the reason why you play these kind of games. You want to see,
find little bits and pieces that, you know, normal players might miss.
Yeah, you don't see enough of this in games today. I mean, that's just the honest truth. Like right here, you know, these pictures are you just putting your cursor on them to see what they are, and then you have the character. You know, like what would this character say if he was looking at it, or what would this character do if you selected a hand thinking he's going to try to steal it? And there's a few Easter eggs in that same in that same mold here. I mean, this sequence right here, I could have easily ran through the solution and been out of here, you know, within a minute. But instead, I wanted, you know, to show everything that you could go through in this particular, you know, sequence.
Yeah, another thing also you got like about the voices is that it's not only Mark Hamill that's like a famous voice in this game. The bartender, for instance, I'm not sure what his name, but I know he's a famous actor. As long as as well as like the Cara Marine that you encounter later on. You know, they're both, you know, pretty well-known actors.
Yeah. I mean, if you remember playing this, you remember doing all of this. And if you remember these kind of games, because, you know, there's other games of the same mold. There's Monkey Island, which came before this. Same, you know, LucasArts again.
Or you remember playing this and you're, you know, God, it's been that long and I didn't do that.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely those moments. Our friend of the site, Calyx, this is one of the only games that him and I agree on is, you know,
a good game.
Good game, yeah. Me and him, he's a game designer, I am not. He has qualms with most older games, but this is the only game we can both come to agree on. And quote, he's another one who quotes this all the time. There's some of this character action stuff where you select a line that you want to ask. There's some key parts where you have to ask specific questions to get past certain situations. Not a lot of that. Most of the time, you're looking for the end result. You know, how do you get the sequence to continue? Usually, words is not what happens. It's usually actions. You know, which you'll see in a moment here. So how do you get this game? Well, you can buy it on eBay on the disc. For really cheap, $5 or less probably. You know, maybe even less if you know where to look for it. The title is actually considered vaporware at this point. Vaporware is a general term for software that the publisher does not recognize or really do anything with its rights for. That doesn't mean it's free to pirate, but unfortunately, it's probably very easy to get this game in that respect. The money doesn't go to the developer anymore, that kind of thing, especially as old as it is.
You can get this game brand new sealed for about $14.
Oh, eBay?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you'd want to buy it brand new. I would say buy it used because, you know, it's not like the money's going to anybody other than the person you're buying it from. And it comes on disc, and it will not run natively without, like I said, Scum VM, which is free. You can download that. I'll put the link in the description below. Or if you actually own Windows 3.1 or a 95 machine. And I don't think this runs on Windows 95 SE, and it does not work on Windows 98. Very, very picky about what it runs on. Oh, if you remember Norton Commander, which I'm really dating myself now, it'll run on it'll launch from Norton Commander because that's still a DOS shell. And if you don't know what DOS is, I'm just shaking my head at you. Like right now, it's just shaking left and right.
Stop shaking your head at Marco.
Yeah, you back in those days, you would go to DOS C prompt, and then you would go d:/username/throttle.exe. That was the path. You could launch this from Windows 3.1 itself, but it seemed to run better from DOS or Norton Commander, in my experience anyway. The other thing this required was an 8x CD-ROM drive at the very minimum. If you still have a CD-ROM and not a DVD-ROM, your CD-ROM is probably 52x. So let's put this in comparison. And to run this game back in the day, let's say we bought the Packard Bell Legend series with 4 megs of RAM, a 2x CD-ROM, and the original processor and everything else, 600 megabyte hard drive. That computer cost about $3,000 in 1991, 1992. The upgrades cost almost another $1,000 in 1994 to bring it up to that speed. That's before trying to upgrade to 95, which we didn't do in the end. But just to get it to the hardware spec, that was another $1,000. So about $4,000 to play this game initially in 1994.
That sounds about right.
That is pricey.
And you played it on your old CRT, and the resolution was 640 by.
Well, one of the things you can kind of compare it to is that 3DO we just got. That was like 700.
Yeah, that is true. And this is in the same realm as the 3DO console. Those Wing Commander, which was another game that was shared on both. I was actually kind of sad that this didn't come to any kind of console. It would have worked well. I mean,
and they weren't like the 3DO games over $100 when they came out.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
Yeah, so I mean, it was comparable to get a PC that did everything for he said 3,000 compared to say 1,000 for 3DO and a game. So
let's let's paint a picture of 1994 for me. I had a choice. I either would go to AOL 3.0 and use some of my tools and do chat bots in the chat window, or B, close out of AOL, shut down the 14.4K connection, and play Full Throttle. Or if I was in a really odd mood, I could just switch through the After Dark screensavers.
Or you'd play Dust.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about Dust. That's gonna be a hard one.
Yeah, if we can ever get it to work.
Tell me more about these After Dark screensavers.
There was Bad Dog. Bad Dog used to
tear up your home screen, your
monitor. You would dig through the monitor, and then he would chew on the cables, and then would electrocute.
And it would pull chips out and let it drop on the.
I approve.
Yes, and that had the original flying toasters.
He would dig into your wallpaper.
That's true.
He'd pee on your trash can.
Or sometimes you would just go through the MIDI sequencer and listen to really bad versions of Canon.
We're gonna have to do some research into this later. I may have found my company's.
I've wanted that screensaver for a long time.
We can reminisce here. I mean, me and Tim can at least.
Yeah, Marco.
It's all my
Not being born.
This game had a few adult themes that I didn't get until later in life. I remember my parents laughing at it.
Marco's only getting it right now.
And I never got it. And I was like, what are you talking about? Now, the solutions to these were actually, everything about this game was clever. Every puzzle was clever other than the kicking the goddamn rock, which if you play this game, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That thing took forever, and you found it, and then it was like, all right, finally, it's done.
Well, not only that one, the crane, that one was...
No, the crane was okay.
The crane was a bit difficult.
This came out in a day and age where you didn't really have online
and the gas
FAQs. Unless you went to the BBS board where you're playing Legend of the Red Dragon. I'm dating myself once again. And you were like, hey, everybody, have you guys played Full Throttle? And then they would take like a week to respond.
You want to date yourself? Play Zork.
Well, and then they would go, hey, so yeah, I got past this part. It was pretty hard, and then through BBS email, you could sometimes open it, sometimes you couldn't. And then if you waited too long, you read your session ID would get canceled out, or someone would pick up the phone, and then you wouldn't read the whole email.
Yeah, no DSL filters.
Oh, you know what else I forgot to mention on top of all those other fun things that you could do as a child? Encarta, the Microsoft Encarta.
What about that 3D dinosaur?
That's not as well known. There was definitely software that came with the computer.
Kid Space.
Kid Space. Oh man, I remember Kid Space.
I remember we kept trying to find that for 95.
Yeah. Anyway, this game, played it so many times over the years, it's really hard to tell. All the humor still holds up. I mean, even after a year, you come back and play it, and it's still funny. All the voice acting is spot on. Everybody's character is really well done and believable. There's a few, like Tim said, some of the actors are well known in other spaces, and you might have heard the voices in other places as well. The reporter, for example, she's in some kind of Disney movie. I can't remember which.
Probably in a few, because I mean I know I've heard that voice before.
It's hard to remember, especially as old as this is. And you know, it's really sad this game is not remembered anymore, other than old farts. Especially, you know, the sad part for me in some ways is kids today, maybe not even kids, teenagers today, don't know what it's like to go to their local fairgrounds to pick up PC parts.
Fair,
you know,
PC,
proper PC fair
or shareware.
Shareware. No one remembers shareware. No one remembers floppy disks. No one remembers formatting AOL floppy disks because you needed space.
Wait, we never did that. Allegedly.
No, we didn't. But I know people who did.
Yeah.
And you know, no one remembers.
It's not like I still have like 6.
No one remembers. No one remembers Ski Free.
Oh no, Ski Free you can play online
now, but not really. Like if I were to go outside and say, "Hey kid, you remember Ski Free?" And they'd be like, "What's that?" And it's like,
was that Sonic? Was that Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games?
But the abominable snowman would chase you down.
Hey, I once ran away from him for 3 minutes.
Huh?
I got lucky.
Not bad.
Never able to do that again.
Yeah, no one remembers MIDI sequencers. No one remembers Sound Blaster 16 being an awesome card, and you could put your game control pad into the sound card because it had a 6-pin connector as a game port on the back. No one remembers parallel ports for printers. No one remembers all the dial-up sounds. Well, no, actually, I should take that back because there's some people who are still cheap asses who are still on dial-up.
I have a MIDI input that runs serial.
No one remembers using AOL Key Finder the same way we use Google now.
I have a keyword.
Keywords. No one remembers AOL chat rooms. Like, you know, that was what you did.
Sir, people barely remember AIM.
And then, you know, you had Nickelodeon on the kids channel. You know, I never had me and Tim never had cable as a kid, but it's the way we experienced it.
Yeah.
No one remembers Darkwing Duck typing to you in a chat room. You know, those kinds of things. It's all gone. It was a different time. Yeah, I mean, back to Full Throttle, because, I mean, this all kind of adds up into the same realm. I'm trying to paint a picture of what the time was, especially if you weren't there.
Well, I think you've painted that enough, but, you know, let's try and paint the game a little more as this comes to an end.
That's purplish. So, as I said, it's a puzzle game. This right here is its own little puzzle, trying to figure out how to get inside of the motorhome. Yeah, and do it in a way where you can actually continue and get to the welding torch, which is at the bottom. I mean, I'm not spoiling anything. It's lighting, and you can hear him using the torch, you know. And you just got to figure out how to get it to work. You know, I already know how to do it, obviously, but back in the day, you could spend hours on some of these things. You just sit there and clicking on stuff, and it was definitely experimentation. For anyone who didn't use any kind of FAQ or didn't have anyone's help, this game could actually be fairly long because a lot of trial and error. There's a lot of things where if you made one mistake, you kind of screwed yourself and had to start from at least a save or from the beginning. So like for this instance right here, I do it right. But you can kick that door in, for example, and then you screw yourself if you don't do it. Where Todd, the guy with the welding.
Well, no, you can come back and the door will be closed.
Yeah, there's just a lot of trial and error, and it allows you to do that because the voice sequences, like right here when he's talking to him, he'll repeat these same lines, depending on what you do. I really like that. I went to it and you see him talking, and then like, time for you to go to hell.
Yeah, I mean that's actually something. As a matter of fact, I remember that's actually something you can wait a little bit, and if you wait, he'll keep saying certain things up to a certain point, and then you'll have to pound on the door again.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, if you do it, I think if you but if you do it like a couple of times, I mean, he does say some different things each time. He will continue to say some different things up until a certain point where he'll loop.
Yeah, and like that little thing right there. No one. It took forever to figure out that was an elevator. Just to get him to go over there.
Although I will say what you forgot to do here.
Oh, I didn't get the meat or anything.
Or the lockpick.
I wasn't gonna do that because this for the video was too much. I might actually do a playthrough. Alright everyone, well this was a classic capture for Full Throttle on the PC DOS 3.5, Windows 95 as well. Scum VM link will be at the bottom and this is the way to play the game. Please subscribe and let us know what you think. Thank you.